The following is a Michigan Sesquicentennial Year presentation.
1987 has been a phenomenal year for sportsmen. 1988, we expect to even be better. One of the high points, Bob Garner, is Moose Lift 2.
One of the spectacular high points
That's
of
right.
87.
We're going to take a look at that report we did back in February. We're going to go fishing with Raj McCarville up on Houghton Lake, Tip-Up Town. Kathy Beitler always has great recipes. Catherine, we're going to talk about the new directions in Outdoors Forever. And Bob, he's just going to run the color commentary all the way on this New Year's Eve show, so stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of
White-tailed deer in some parts of the northern Upper Peninsula are on the decline, mainly due to the growth of the forests. Deer need grasses, shrubs, young vegetation for food and cover, not tall stands of trees. As the deer have declined in those areas, the DNR has decided to replace them with moose. This is Moose Lift 2, the second transplant of 29 mature moose from Ontario's Algonquin Provincial Park to northern Michigan, a joint effort between our DNR and the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources. Now, this bull has been tranquilized by a dart fired from a chase helicopter that stays near the moose, keeping it from running back into the woods where it would be difficult to capture. It takes about 10 minutes for a tranquilized moose to collapse. After 5 minutes or so, it begins weaving. Notice the tracks in the snow. This procedure was followed about 4 times a day for a week as the DNR worked towards its goal of 30 moose to be added to the group that was imported the same way back in 1985. In that year, 31 were captured, and after normal losses and the gains from the new calves, the original herd in January stood at 49. It's been about 10 minutes, and this bull is ready to drop. Word is sent back to a staging area that's getting ready to give the bull a thorough physical and put him in a crate. But first, a few preparations on the frozen lake have to be made. Steve Schmidt, DNR veterinarian, was heading up the capture team, and he's the one who tranquilized all the moose from the helicopter. And he's the first one to the moose once it's down. The antlers on that moose aren't trophy book antlers by any stretch of the imagination, but they're still heavy. They're dangerous. A quick jerk of the bull's head could severely injure anyone who got in the way. That's why the first order of business is to saw them off. An ointment is put in the eye of all of the moose to keep it from drying out. Then a mask is put on to cover its eyes like blinders. From stem to stern, from the temperature to the teeth, a whole battery of data is collected. Life signs are monitored continuously. All this in preparation for a helicopter ride by this moose. This is the sling that will lift it gently as it's transported as quickly as possible to the staging area. Now, to this point, about 15 minutes have passed since the moose fell from the tranquilizer dart. For another 12 or 14 minutes, this moose will be airborne. The average moose weighs 800 to 1,000 pounds. Some of them went up to 1,200 pounds. That's at least 7 or 8 times as large as the average Michigan deer. This Algonquin Park terrain looks a lot like the mature forests in northern Michigan, and these moose will be right at home. 15 new bulls with as many new cows. The idea is to encourage reproduction as quickly as possible so Michigan's moose herd can reach 1,000 in another 12 years. Now, if you thought this bull received a lot of attention when it was captured, watch the team of biologists, veterinarians, and technicians. They've been waiting for months to use their training for the next few minutes, a critical time period for the moose's health. Now they can jump into action. In a matter of minutes, the moose is hoisted into a crate. You'll notice the Safari Club International symbols on these crates. The Michigan chapters of Safari Club have been the biggest outside contributor of funds to the moose program. If it wasn't for SCI, it's doubtful that our moose program would be where it is today. But thanks to them and to the many other state and local groups that have contributed, the trucks rolled out of Ontario each day of the moose lift. At 5 a.m., they were being processed at customs at Sault Ste. Marie. Plenty of paperwork when you're bringing moose across the border, but the channels were cleared without delay so these moose could continue their 16-hour drive to Van Riper State Park near Marquette, the site of the moose release less than a day after they were captured. Interest was high. Crowds on some days numbered 1,000 or more to watch these new immigrants set foot on Michigan soil. Out of 30 moose captured, 29 survived with no problems. Only one developed complications from the stress. They were checked frequently during their road trip and given a final exam through the crate just before their release. All the moose were fitted with radio collars so they can be tracked individually to check their survival, their reproduction, their traveling, which is quite far throughout the northern Upper Peninsula. The biggest concern, the biggest threat to their well-being is brainworm, a parasite that most deer carry. It doesn't hurt the deer, but if a moose gets brainworm, it'll die. That's why previous moose transplants in the UP didn't work. They got brainworm from the deer. In this part of the UP, where deer numbers are down, moose survival is up. Now we're at the moment that everyone's been waiting for, the release, and nobody's been waiting more impatiently than the moose. There goes an interesting-looking creature, one that's destined to be photographed many times in the years ahead. By the year 2000, the DNR may call for a limited hunt, maybe to keep the moose from spreading into deer territory and spreading brainworm among their own numbers. The idea is to keep the herd healthy, in balance with its habitat. That's the North American moose, a welcome addition to Michigan Outdoors. Someday, the moose might be plentiful in the Upper Peninsula thanks to Moose Lift, replacing a lot of the deer.
It should work, as should the Sichuan transplants that were made this year for the first time, too.
Of the pheasants. Who knows how long it'll be before we'll be able to eat Sichuan pheasant or partake in the, nature's bounty out there of those species.
Soon, I hope.
Yeah, because we have a lot of good, you have come up with a lot of good fish and game recipes, Kath. But, we get questions from non-hunters about game meat.
Where to buy it?
That's right. Bob?
A couple of viewers in the Detroit area wrote to us, and one said, could you tell us where we can buy deer meat in the Detroit area, in season or out? Another letter asked, do you have a list of sources of wild game meat that I could purchase in Michigan? Could it be shipped UPS to me, or would I have to go pick it up?
Well, folks, there are some places that you can buy wild game meat, but you have to understand this is not wild game per se, because you cannot buy and sell game that is taken on a hunting license or a fish on a fishing license. So that game has to be raised domestically in pens. There at the Vicksburg Locker, they're making some sausage. That comes from hunters who have taken in their venison. Now, Vicksburg, I know, doesn't sell venison.
Doesn't.
There are some places that do. We have a list of a couple of them. We have a list of the wild game breeders in the state, and it might take us a couple months to compile places in the Detroit area you can buy, but we could put one together, couldn't we, Catherine? Yeah. So we'll put one together. In fact, if you have any ideas of where it can be bought or sold, write to us and we'll add it to our list. Now, here's a fishing question in our outdoor quiz.
Do muskies grow larger in the northern or southern parts of their range? Muskies grow larger in the north. In Michigan's Lake St. Clair, muskies over 20 pounds are common. Tennessee is the extreme southern range of muskies, where they are rarely caught over 5 pounds.
This was a day that we'll remember here on Michigan Outdoors. Roger McCarville, our director of Outdoors Forever, you'll remember that day.
I'll remember that forever.
That was one cold day, but it's the first time I think that probably anybody has seen a wheelchair behind a snowmobile, a sled behind a snowmobile, taking you, there you are,
Right.
out ice fishing. I mean, handicappers are very uncommonly seen outdoors, especially something like this.
Right. The next time I'm going to be on the snowmobile.
No, I had a great day that day, but it was really an education on what I could do out there in the cold.
But you know, the significance of this feature and of Outdoors Forever has been showing, I think, all of us, things that we didn't think that we'd see, or things like maybe in your case that you'd be doing. What is Outdoors Forever? This organization we started right here on Michigan Outdoors. What has that meant to the handicappers that you've come into contact with?
Well, for myself personally, it's really been the attitude that people have towards us. A lot of times we don't think anybody cares. But I was out at the DNR fisheries this summer talking to them, and I must have talked to 50 of the fisheries people, and they have more concern about us than we do, and we don't realize it. It's a matter of educating each other, and I think that that's something I really grabbed this year that I didn't notice before.
From my point of view, Outdoors Forever has meant that it's just a matter of time before I am going to be handicapped in some way. I mean, I've already noticed many ways I am. Elbow, knee, one thing and another. And it's been sort of reassuring to me to know that you can go out and do that. Well, heck, I'm not going to be washed up if I have an accident or a disease. Right. I'm going to just charge right on.
And that's the things we've seen all year that viewers have sent in. That, gee, they're hunting and different adaptations they made. It's been fantastic.
What about you, Kath? Is it?
Oh, yeah, I've learned a lot. They've taught me how to keep warm. It's okay for me to be cold now, you know. I can say, yeah, I do get cold.
Wait, you wouldn't say that before?
Well, no, heck no. And get all the ridicule, no. I mean, I'd go out there and tough it out with the best of them, but yeah, I do get cold, and I've learned to stay warm.
What about you, Catherine?
Well, partly I get cold just like Kathy, and I'm willing to tell people now. But the other aspect has been realizing that as much as I understood that people enjoyed hunting or fishing, I didn't realize how intensely people enjoy it and what a motivation being able to hunt and fish after a disabling accident or illness can be. It really, the ability to hunt or fish after you've been injured symbolizes the ability to possibly go back to work or get educated or just continue to do the things you did before.
The shift I've noticed too, Fred, this year came about where everybody was kind of wondering what's this deal they're going to do at Michigan Outdoors for handicappers, to now everybody says, geez, I know somebody that can't use an arm or whatever that I can now take hunting or fishing. So there's been a really neat shift to that degree too in a year's time.
A significant program, I think, for us all. I hope for you folks too, you're going to see more of it. Well, not more of it every week. The same amount on Michigan Outdoors, as well as in our events. And we have a whole slew of them. Michigan Outdoors events coming up right now on our outdoor calendar. We have a lot of fun at all of our events on the calendar, and of course our banquets, and Big Buck Night, not to mention that. Remember the guy who came to Big Buck Night and he had his antlers upside down? I mean, they were upside down backwards.
And he didn't know it
We
until
weren't sure
then?
whether it went, north, south, east, or west, to tell you the truth.
Pete Hausler's his name. Here's a shot of him on Big Buck Night with those antlers going backwards. They're sweeping back up against the wall. It's not the way they go. I looked at the photo that he sent in, and the photo looked great. You know, it's a big buck.
Huge rat.
So we figured at the banquet, when he showed up, he'd certainly have that
Have him
fixed.
turned around.
Wrong. Pete was hunting Washtenaw County, 9:15 in the morning on opening day. Here, hold it up here so we can see those big tines. What's the scoop? Oh. I remember you, Phil.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Pete. Pete was the guy on Big Buck Night who had his antlers mounted backwards. You haven't changed him yet.
No, it's got me a lot of recognition.
A lot of recognition on this one. Okay. Well, you know which way they go now. You got a 16-point buck with a 19-inch spread, about as big as they come.
He was big enough.
Okay. He's the guy, yeah, who got these things mounted backwards. How do you hang them? How do you hang them on the wall?
On the wall?
Okay.
This is a table mount.
Table mount.
Looks good like that.
Outstanding, Peter. You figured a way around it. Our first table-mounted buck. Pete Hausler does have a famous mount. That's a 16-point with a 19-inch outside spread, 9-inch tines. Pete's from Saline. That's a Washtenaw County buck. Now, there's no chance to mount this bruiser's antlers upside down. That's a monster. The longest tine, get this, 13¼ inches. The spread, 28 inches. Rarely do you see the dimensions like that any larger than this. This buck was a fighter, as we found out at the banquet. Now we got a 14-pointer with a 28-inch spread. Look at the spread on this buck. Whoa. Lyle Farrell from Burlington got this the last day of the season.
Yep, gotta wait for the last day.
But you didn't want to wait for the last day.
Well, it didn't matter.
What's the story behind a buck this size?
Well, he just happened to run out in front of me, and I seen this funny-looking horn. I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't take him, but I figured, what the heck?
Yeah, look at that. That's possibly an insect sting or something like that would cause that.
Yeah, that it does. And it happened to have the horn that was stuck down inside of it.
An antler was stuck in that hole there?
Yep.
Antler was stuck in the hole from this one fighting with another deer. I'll be darned. Maybe you'll find a match here tonight.
Maybe.
Where that came from, who knows? Lyle Farrell from Burlington, a 14-point with a 28-inch spread. Whopping big rack. Congratulations, Lyle. One of the largest racks of all times that I've seen in our awards program. The spread and length of tines is right at the top of the trophy book. It's no secret that there aren't as many women hunters as there are men hunters. Some go because their boyfriends or husbands would like them to try it, but every now and then we find a woman who really enjoys hunting and after a while becomes a better hunter than most men. Deanna Dreyer has attained that status, finally got the hang of deer hunting with this 10-point. Deanna Dreyer from Fairhaven. Oh, how you doing, Deanna?
Very good, thank you.
Sanilac County, 19th of November. You a long-time deer hunter?
Yes.
Are you a long-time successful deer hunter?
No, not till this year. No.
This is your first buck?
I shot a doe on Monday and shot this on Wednesday.
So you got 2 deer this year, and this is the first 2 deer you've taken.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's outstanding. It's a 10-pointer with almost a 17-inch spread, 180 pounds. Congratulations, Deanna. Deanna Dreyer from Fairhaven. Becoming a proficient hunter isn't something that comes naturally to everyone. Looks like Deanna developed a skill, though. Sherry Badoon is one of those ladies who bagged an 11-point trophy, a big Livingston County buck. And piecing the story together, I seem to recall it was her brothers who handed her a single-shot shotgun, and it was a good thing they gave her a pocket full of shells. We're in the shotgun category, but that's a dark rack. What's the deal behind this one?
I got out about 7 o'clock, and about 20 minutes later, 2 dogs came through the woods, and I thought, well, they'd chased all the deer out, so I was going to leave, and then I heard some crack in the brush coming through the woods, so I stopped and waited, and Doe came out, and then he came out, so I got 6 shots at him with my single shot.
With your single shot? How did you get 6 shots with a single shot?
He just stood there and watched me, so I kept shooting.
Reload and take another shot? How far away was he?
First shot was about 100 yards.
What do you mean what about the second shot?
Well, he kept just circling right on around me. Then kept right on walking. We took about 3 hours to find him. Finally, he was down in the swamp when we found him.
I'll be darned. 6 shots with a single shot, an 11-pointer. I'd say you stuck with it, did a magnificent job.
Thank you.
Sherry Badoon from Howell. Can you believe that? An incredible stroke of luck. A buck that obviously wasn't too worried, but Sherry didn't give up. Ended up in the trophy book with a great story to boot. We all know that absenteeism is high around deer season. Deer hunters seem to get sick, and the only cure is a day or 2 in the woods. Now, you're going to have to bear with me and forget the story you're about to hear. I promised Randy that I'd keep his story quiet. You have a 12-pointer.
Right.
Another one from Jackson County.
Jackson County.
You know where all these other Jackson people hunt?
No, I don't.
You don't? You never
No.
see them?
No, I never seen him.
Is this a cornfield job?
Yes, right in the cornfield.
Bow hunting in a cornfield. How do you camouflage yourself?
I was in a tree.
A tree in the middle of a cornfield.
I was on the edge of the cornfield, and it come up. I called in sick one day, told him I wasn't going to be there. Don't let him hear this.
Oh no, we won't let a soul know.
Right. And it come by about 4:45, and I got him.
It's an outstanding story. 12-point. Did the deer come through the corn or from the woods into the corn?
No, it come right up through the corn, about 4 rows in. Just
past your
steady
stand?
walking,
I'll be darned.
right in the corner.
Well, good shot. And we won't tell a soul
Okay.
about you calling in sick.
Thanks.
All right. Randy Peck from Pleasant Lake. Please don't tell anybody. We don't want to get the poor guy in trouble. Well, that was good old what's his name? Well, I can't remember exactly. I can't remember where he's from either. He got a big buck, though. Deer hunting fever gets the best of us. And for this fellow, whoever he was, the only record we have is his picture and his name somewhere in our trophy book. The last recipe in our outdoor digest for this year is TG's Rabbit and Squirrel Stew. Tom Greenhoe from Grand Rapids put together a concoction of ingredients. Looks like there's a lot of them, but they're all common ones.
Your basic stew type ingredients. You got potatoes and carrots and onions and celery and rabbit and a squirrel. And we're going to actually use a rabbit and squirrel. Now here, a lot of people don't think there's fel or fat on small game. And it is, and that is tough. You can't chew it. You're going to brown your pieces of meat, and he calls for no salt in this recipe whatsoever. That's what makes it nice.
Well, I think there's probably salt in some of the other ingredients.
Well, some of them into the sauces. But you can put everything into a crock pot. That makes it just real nice for somebody who works all day long. Or if you want to come in from a cabin and smell it. Got spicy V8 juice. Now, there's where a lot of your spice that you can taste come through. And Lee and Perrins. And he calls for
Worcestershire sauce.
He calls for Lee and Perrins.
I don't know why you avoid that word all the time.
I can say Lee and Perrins. And the all-natural barbecue sauce. And that's about all the liquid you're going to put in to begin with. And then you're going to put your tomato juice. That looks very thick there, but it will thin out with the juice. And he says if you need more, not to add water, to add more juice.
That's not tomato juice.
Yes,
That's
it
V8
is.
juice.
V8.
Hey, it looks like tomatoes.
Yes.
And here,
Smells like tomatoes.
and here it
Crock
is.
pot all day long.
Here it is. It doesn't have the flour and thickening of a
No.
stew. What do you think, Raj McCarville?
Oh, mine's delicious. You don't have to add salt, pepper, everything's in it.
That's right.
And it's kind of spicy.
It's very spicy, but that's that spicy V8 juice. I like that stuff anyway. It's great in a stew recipe.
Now, Catherine,
Yes.
what do you think? You cleaned up your plate.
You
your
can
bowl.
see the picture on the bottom of the bowl.
Yeah. So you thought it was pretty good
Yeah,
too?
I like the spicy tang to it.
Yeah, it is. It isn't hot.
No.
It isn't obnoxious.
No, it's very good.
A great way to end the year. Of course, it's in our Fish and Wild Game Classics. We're also closing out the year on this book.
That's
all
right.
of our recipes are done. It's been a great year. We'll see you all in 1988. Get outdoors this weekend if you can. It's a great place to be. See you. There goes an interesting-looking creature, one that's destined to be photographed many times in the years ahead. By the year 2000, the DNR may call for a limited hunt, maybe to keep the moose from spreading into deer territory and spreading brainworm among their own numbers. The idea is to keep the herd healthy and balanced with its habitat. That's the North American moose, a welcome addition to Michigan Outdoors.